immediately downgraded
in her 523
pathological liar. I am just a potato. Please make it make sense. Ducky, stop. Who would have thought? Come here. You want to be in the camera? I am a raccoon.
Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today is my birthday reading vlog, and I thought I would catch you guys up with what's going on in my life. Now, I mentioned it briefly in my haul video, but I did say that I am now officially unemployed. I put in my resignation letter in September, and my last day was September 30th. So by now it has been like a week and a half since I've been unemployed, and I'm just kind of getting into the groove of things. I quit my job honestly because if you guys have seen my sporadic videos in September, October, a little bit in August, it was because I couldn't handle the work-life balance anymore. And if you did any buddy reads with me, I think I briefly mentioned it to some of my friends, some of other booktubers on here, that my life has gone out of control. Like, do not look to my left. I am purposefully hiding the left side from you guys because the chores of this house has not been done for a hot minute either. And I'm just being real with y'all. It's been rough. I was with my company for 7 years, and you know, as I'm getting older, my expectation and my health comes first. So a really big reason why I left was because of the lack of work-life balance and how I couldn't do what I used to be able to do, which was we would do 9 to 5 and then like 9 to 2 or 3 a.m. All right, so I'm talking about like 9 p.m. to 2 or 3 a.m. and then we're back in the office at 9 a.m. You know, when I was in my early 20s, that was doable. That was fun. I could just catch up on sleep over the weekend. But now as I'm getting older, it's not doable. I was mentally stressed out. Like, I was on like a breaking point for a hot minute, and I just finally decided as a birthday present to myself, because yes, I did put in my resignation as a birthday present to myself, and I just said, hey, you know, I don't think like my expectations are being cleared, it's not met, and I also don't get paid OT because technically I'm exempt. So like about 2 times a week in the past couple of months, it was 9 to 5 and then 9 p.m. to 2 or 3 a.m. and then 9 to 5 and then rinse and repeat. Like, I could only handle so much. Like, my brain is frazzled out. And it also has to do with like the company culture. I think that it has really changed since I started the company. It has been 7 years. We went through 3 or 4 different acquisitions. So I would say I was a veteran in that company, but you know, things just didn't align, and I'm just taking some time for myself and getting into the groove of reading. To be honest, since last month, at the end of last month and early this month, I wasn't really vibing. I wasn't reading, I wasn't doing anything. I was just either exhausted or catching up on sleep. And I'm happy to say that I am officially back on track, back in the groove of things for myself. I would have to say a lot of it is thanks to the latest book that I just finished, which is the 5th book in the Murderbot Diaries. And that book was so good. It is by far currently my favorite book of the Murderbot Diaries series, and it really got me out of a reading slump. I do believe that Chris and Lauren both said that that particular series, the Murderbot Diaries, got them out of a reading slump, and I can definitely see why. Like, I started the Murderbot Diaries a couple of months back. I put a pause on it, not because I didn't like it, but because I wanted to read other books. And since being put on a reading slump, I just picked up the audiobook again, and I just fell in love with fictional AI robots. Quite honestly, I love the characters in the Murderbot Diaries so much, and has actually put me back into the groove and the vibe of actually reading books. So I've been pumping out and churning out a bit more books than I did in like combined the past 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm excited about that. And for this reading vlog, I know I ramble a lot, I am going to try to finish King of Sloth. This was in, I want to say, either my August or September TBR, but I never got around to it. I was just busy, and like I said, a lot of things in life happened, and I'm really excited to start reading this and finish it. I'm only like, I don't know if you guys can see, like 20 pages in, so not really far. I don't really know what's happening yet, but it's Grumpy meets Sunshine, where the Grumpy is a female, and I love that. Between the time that I got up and picked up my phone to sitting down again and refilming this, the lighting has changed, so that's great. But another book that I'm currently listening to on audiobook is Better Than the Movies. This is actually a recommendation from Chamonix Jada. She is the sweetest sweetest person ever, y'all. And I saw one of her previous shorts slash TikTok video, and she was just laughing and having such a good time with the series, especially as an audiobook. So I decided to pick it up again. I have to say I wasn't going to pick up another book from Lynn Painter. I believe I read Mr. Wrong Number in another vlog a while back, and I did not like it. Like, quite honestly, I did not think the ending was great, but now I think Lynn Painter has mostly written more YA books than adult books, so maybe that was just out of her comfort zone at least. So I'm picking up Better Than the Movie, which is a YA romance, and I don't know what to rate it so far because it's kind of giving cringe, but also very high school like, so I can't even be mad at it, you know? It's almost hilarious to watch and to see the events being played and what's happening. I will have to say, Liz, the main character, is not my kind of girl because she's not a girl's girl. She's a little bit too boy obsessed for me. So that is the only problem I have with it so far. But I'm only 17% of the way in. I'm going to continue listening to it, see how I feel about the whole book. It is one of the books that Jean Monnet / Jada really enjoyed. So I'm gonna stick it through, girl. I'm gonna see if I end up kicking, screaming, and just loving as much as you did. Yes, the female character is a little bit too quirky for my taste, but I don't know, the vibes is kind of vibing. It's kind of funny. There's very hilarious scenes and moments, and I really like Wes, whom I think is going to be the potential love interest, but we will see. All right, so the last book that I do want to get to by the end of this vlog is Two Can Play, and it is the latest book from Ali Hazelwood. I am kind of shocked. How is Ali Hazelwood able to pump out so many books in a short amount of time? Like, girl, what is going on in that head? Do you sleep? Because I know that Not in Love came out earlier this year, and then right before that was Bride, and she has another book being released. I think it's Wet or something like that. That's a sports romance that's being published in early 2025, and now she gave me a nice little birthday present, and it is Two Can Play. It is a book that I did not expect, and it wasn't on my radar at all, but I'm kind of excited for it. It is a spicy romance about two gamers, and I am, you know me, I love romance, I love video games, and I like my spice, so I cannot wait to see what this is. I do believe this is a novella, so it's on the shorter side. The audiobook is only 4.5 hours, so definitely on the shorter side, but I'm really excited about it. The only thing is, though, I don't like to listen to my spice. I feel like I'm gonna get secondhand embarrassment. Me reading page by page like King of Sloth, I could flip to a page and it could be the nastiest thing and I could just read it like this. But for audiobook, I might just crawl into my own skin because I'm not gonna lie, I usually play my audiobooks out loud while I'm getting ready for the night or doing chores around the house. So unfortunately, my husband will have to be listening with me for Two Can Play, a nice spicy romance book. So that is it. That's on my agenda for kind of this week. Today is Friday, and I'll probably wrap up this video next Friday and make it come out as a vlog of some sort in the following week. That is my plan, and we are going to see how many books I can read. I'm feeling pretty good. I was in a pretty big reading slump prior to this, but thanks to the Murderbot diaries, I'm out of that and I'm ready to devour more books. I don't know if I really want to dabble into fantasy, but I have a lot of fantasy books that actually just came into my queue from Libby, including Fourth Wing. Now, Bonnie Nicole says she really likes that book, and I think she and I have been talking about this, and I've been in queue for that for months. So even though I'm not like 100% stoked for fantasy, I'm gonna give it a go, see how it goes. If I need to pause it, I'll pause it. I have everything downloaded on my Kindle and I'm on airplane mode, so I'm good. I am good until the next wave of books come in. And if I don't finish all the books that's currently on loan in my Kindle on offline mode prior to the next wave coming in, I guess we'll just have another mass reading vlog as well. So I think that is it for this long intro. Honestly, probably shorter than the usual intro because if I were to follow my other vlogs, I would have tacked the fall book haul video into this video, so I'm kind of glad I didn't. I think that video was like 20 or 30 minutes long for your intro, so you know, it'll be really funny if this one is just as long, but you know what, I will see you guys in the next clip, next update.
I just got back from my birthday dinner. We had a really delicious ramen, and I think now I am going to just catch up on my journaling and everything. So I have this little journal here. It's bullet journal vibes, but I have a very basic layout, and it's really just an hourly format for me to track what I'm spending my time on, and then just like a blank page where I could either just journal the full page, or I could just mark down what I needed to get done in broad strokes. And also I have a, I believe, okay, the inspiration I got was from Helen at the Coffee Monsters Co. She's a fairly big YouTuber, but I was following her when I was super into planning, and she has like the cutest little Coffee Monster stickers, and to this day I still have a bunch of her stickers. But she has kind of like a notebook like this where it's just a list of things to do, and she calls it an ADHD planner. I am not diagnosed with ADHD, it just has helped me, so I wanted to show you guys how I use it. Very similar to what she does, but it's just a running list of things to do, and it's okay to repeat tasks. I kind of get like a serotonin release whenever I could mark off just like a very simple thing to do, such as like watch 3 videos or something like that. So this has really helped me mentally with like all the tasks and everything I need to do, where my planner is kind of like more of a big picture of big goal and big stretches that I want to get done for the day. Anyways, so I am back. I'm a little bit tired. We saw a cute little bookstore, but unfortunately it was more curated old-fashioned books, so it's very cozy, but they weren't actually the kind of books that I would personally reach out and pick up and read. They are mostly secondhand classic literature, which I'm not very familiar with, so I wouldn't be able to just pick one off the shelf. So I think once we stop this update, I'm gonna get reading King of Sloth. I am currently about 47%, 50% in Better Than the Movies. I am really enjoying it so far, but for me to really enjoy it, I had to put the mentality of knowing what age the characters are, and these are young girls, right? So this is a young girl, she's 17, 18, and for me, I just feel like she has this thing revolving around love, but just thinking about it, being 17 and 18, it makes sense for her to think like that. I also think it's almost like a trauma coping mechanism that is being written into the book. I don't agree 100% yes or no with any of it. I'm just vibing with the vibes of the book. She's a little bit unhinged with everything that she's trying to do and trying to capture like a guy's attention, but I really love the actual male interest. So currently she's like trying to date someone else, and then it seems like the actual male love interest is not going to be the guy that she's trying to go after, it's another guy, and I really like to see that little love triangle dynamic. So it's definitely something different. It's very purely just a romance book. I really am struggling with liking the female lead just because she does not feel very reasonable. She's an extreme liar, like pathological liar. At this point, I feel like I can name out more of the things that she said that has been a lie than her truths in the whole story, and I'm 50% of the way in. But nonetheless, it's still it's a fun read. I'm thinking of leaning this as like a 3.5 to a 4-star, but I don't know. I hope she has some redeeming traits by the end. The male lead is really what's carrying this book for me. Anyways, yeah, I think that is the update for my reading. I just wanted to hop in, do actual updates for a reading vlog, because otherwise you would just see a bunch of video footage of me running around everywhere all the time. Yes, I am still in my pajamas from yesterday. I did not leave the house at all today, and to be quite honest, I am one of those people who will just stay in her pajamas all day and strip into my pajamas as soon as I get home because outdoor clothes are just not that comfortable in my opinions. So please bear with me. I'm gonna try to be less self-conscious about that fact and just wear my pajamas on camera. I gotta be honest, in the other videos I definitely do put on like an actual outfit during the vlogs, even though I'm not going anywhere. So there's that. I'm not planning to go anywhere today, so I will be staying in my pajamas until I take a shower and go into another set of pajamas. So I wanted to come on here because I actually just finished Better Than the Movies, and this is a recommendation from Jada at J Monet. This is my second Lynn Painter book. The first one was Mr. Wrong Number, and I think I gave it 3.75 stars, and I'm giving this one 4 stars. But to be quite honest, I think I should have given Mr. Wrong Number like a 3-star or lower, because it was not, I'm thinking back on it, I don't recall enjoying it that much because of what the ending is, and I think I would have rated it way lower if I were rating it now, but I'm not going to go back and change it because it'll mess up with the stats. So I am just giving you guys an update on Better Than the Movies. I really enjoyed it, but it was a little bit hard to get into, especially because there's such a big age difference between me and the characters. This is a YA focusing on high school romance, and we have this character who really wants a romantic comedy gesture-esque for her life. Like, that's her ideal goal for romance, and it's definitely a little bit unrealistic, but at the same time it was really hard for me to know what I wanted to rate the book, because for the first 35 to 40% of the book I kind of internally cringe at the female lead. She's very like, has this romanticized idea of going to prom and all these things, but it really grew on to me the more I thought about it, because I have to think that she is a high schooler, and then we have this added layer of grief. She's dealing with grief, and this is her coping mechanism on how she could like still stay close to her mother. And when you add all these details, you can really see that she is supposed to be a flawed character, and she is a good character nonetheless. So I ended up giving the book 4 stars. I think by the 50% mark to the end, I literally power read it today. It was really good. I really enjoyed the last 50%. I love her realization, and also other characters calling her out on it and her acceptance of that realization. So it's definitely a cute high school romance. I love the male lead so much. I think he is absolutely perfect. Even though we don't really get much of a perspective on his side of things, I still think it was fairly cute. It's just a cute, sweet high school romance rom-com, and if I was a high schooler and I was reading this book, it would be like, oh yeah, like I think I would have really enjoyed it. But because I was an adult and there was that little like 35 to 40% in the beginning where it was really hard for me to get into it, I think that took down the rating just a little bit. But again, 4 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoyed the book, especially the last 50% of it. It just like when the climax hit, everything just blew up. Like everything just went upside down all around, and it went crazy. So yeah, I don't know, it was good enough for me to just power through. So gotta give credit where it's due. I'm definitely really glad that Jada persuaded me to give Lynn Painter another try, because it was definitely a really good read. Now that I finished this audiobook, I'm so excited to read Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. But before I do all of that, am I gonna show myself on how messy my desk has been? My desk is really messy, so I think I'm gonna insert a little montage or a little clip of me cleaning my desk before I reward myself with some reading. And yeah, we'll see how the day takes me from there. I'm about 100 pages into King of Sloth, and I'm also really enjoying that book. It is Grumpy Sunshine, where the Grumpy is the female lead, and I'm so glad we got more backstory on Sloan. She was always like a very perfect character, and I've always wondered what her backstory was, and now we're getting a little bit more glimpse into what her life is, and I'm really curious to see how Sloan and Xavier are gonna balance out each other, because one is really strict and uptight, and Xavier is this very relaxed, chill, easygoing dude who never takes anything very seriously. So right now we're just testing the waters between the two of them. Like, that's what's going on in the book, and something bad has happened to Sloan and she's going full party mode crazy. I hope there's nothing sussy that's gonna happen in the book, but I'll keep you updated if there is. it might just seem like I just did a video or like I just had a clip and then I came back on this clip. Trust me, it's been like a second or two, like a little bit of time. So y'all know how I said I was unemployed, right? And like usually I get my health insurance through my company and it was about like $100 to $150 a month. Now that I'm unemployed, they are kind of giving me paperwork for like, you're supposed to always be insured basically, and this is one way you can get insured. Tell me why. I am unemployed. That means I have a zero income. Why is my health insurance $800? Like where? Like that doesn't make any, like, please make it make sense. I don't understand. Like this is I'm just so mad. I'm just like, I can pay for it because I saved up a lot of money and you know, I was always a very big budgeter. I planned for this to have happened and my husband has a great job and I have a husband so I can be on his health insurance, but I just wanted to see what the paperwork would be like, and he hasn't officially registered me onto his health insurance yet, so I was just trying to see like what would the cost difference be and be like, oh hey, maybe if it's cheaper, should I be on my own health insurance? Absolutely not. It's $800. Are you kidding? What? Make it make sense. Like if I'm unemployed and I don't have a husband, where am I gonna get $800? Most Americans don't even have that much money in their savings right now. Like I'm kind of upset and flabbergasted, and I've always known that healthcare is a really big issue and it's something that like, that's the reason why I go out and I vote every year, and like I vote every election year, and this is an election year. Yeah, I could lose subscriber if y'all want, but make sure to go out and vote and advocate for what you want, and I'm gonna advocate for a leader that is going to help with health insurance and make it more affordable, because $800 is not affordable for most Americans for a month. Are you kidding me? 1 month is $800? Like, I'm sorry, I'm just really mad because I just feel like it's unrealistic and people, like most Americans would be able to afford it. I'm lucky in a situation where I have my husband. He is working. Like even for me, someone who has her life kind of planned out, her budget planned out, this bill is extremely unexpected. I expected it to be like 200, 300, and I'm just upset at how ignorant I was about the cost, because I don't know, $800 is just too much for health insurance. So I don't know, like this is why the system is broken, and I really hope that it changes in the future. And I guess if me being political and talking about basic human rights upsets you, you guys can go ahead and unsubscribe. But yeah, I'm sorry guys, this is actually so upsetting, and yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start cleaning my room now. So I will catch you guys in the next clip where hopefully I will be happier and less upset about this busted system, and I will see you guys then. I am on like a power reading moment today. I just finished Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood, and also like right before this I finished Better Than the Movies, so 2 audiobooks down already, and I basically accomplished most of what I wanted to do. Oh, hello Ducky, come here, you want to be in the camera? Yeah, she wants to be a part of the clips. So I think when I started this vlog I was a little bit not scared. Scared's not the right word. I wasn't sure how much reading I was gonna be able to do, but I said I wanted to do Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood, Better Than the Movies, and King of Sloth. So right now I am about this much in, so 85 out of 400 pages. Not bad, but still a good way to go. And this is the physical form that I'm currently reading, like books that I actually have to physically read. I've been leaning more and more into audiobooks recently. I'm like vibing with audiobooks. They are so good to have in the background. I have it in the background when I'm playing my video games. I'm having it in the background when I'm going grocery shopping just now in the previous clip that you guys saw me do. So I got through a lot of books today just from the audiobooks alone. Alright, since I just finished Two Can Play, let's give a little bit of a review on what I thought about it. I gave it 3.25. It was not the best Ali Hazelwood book I've read. It's definitely more kind of bland in my opinion, and I think it has to do with the fact that it's a novella, so there weren't so many pages to really develop the characters, and especially because you need to make it into like a romantic setting, it feels very like on the surface for the most part. Once again, it's a very classic semi enemies to lovers stemming from miscommunication at some point in time, and the book really just both characters, the male and the female, just fell a little bit flat for me. I wasn't super into them. Also, the male lead at one point, because they're both game designers, were talking about like their favorite video game, and he was just like, Persona is not a good game, and already immediately downgraded that man, downgraded, because Persona is one of those games where my husband and I played it together, meaning I would watch him play and then I would do a run through of my own. Also, Persona 4, I might have left Nanako in the dungeon for like 3 months because I did not level everything up appropriately, and yeah, she was just stuck in the dungeon until the very last day. If you guys have played the game, you guys would know what I'm talking about. So also, I think the latest Persona game just came out, or like a remake, on PC too. So I thought it was definitely an interesting timing. It's kind of awesome. I think it's kind of cool. I think Ali Hazelwood obviously probably knows about the game at least to put it into the book. But yeah, the male lead dissing on Persona like that, like no, absolutely not. So yeah, that was just kind of my generic take on it. It really didn't blow me away. I didn't really feel any strong connection to the female lead, the male lead, the story, the romance. Like her attraction to him, it just felt so surface level and insta love. Whereas his kind of makes a little bit more sense, but with her, it really just felt like he's hot. I think he's the hottest guy ever. And then proceeding to multiple years, they run into each other at conferences and stuff like that, and she gets to hear more about his achievements in the game industry, and then she respects him as a game designer after that. But quite honestly, the intro to like the whole thing just really feels like insta love to me. So overall, the story kind of felt flat. This one was just alright. I didn't regret the time that I read it. It was funny at moments, and there were definitely like moments of like, oh my god, but it just didn't slap. It wasn't hitting where it was supposed to hit. So yeah, and I'm going to continue reading King of Sloth for the night. And since technically I already finished all the audiobooks, and I was telling you guys how I was really vibing with audiobooks and whatnot, I just recently borrowed from my local library Women of Light, and this is a buddy read with Maria Andrea at Books and Bocadillos. She said that she wanted to read this book as part of Spanish Heritage Month, and I said that, oh, that sounds really cool, I would love to participate with you. And we decided that we were gonna buddy read and read this book together. I don't know if she's currently reading it. I know she celebrates it starting from like the 10th of October, or like around October to November, if I recall correctly. I specifically noted that I was going to read it in October because it was better for me in the timeline. So I'm gonna get started and listen to this book when I'm on my downtime, or when I just want to listen to an audiobook instead of actually reading. And for now, I think I'm going to get cracking and continue reading King of Sloth. I am really enjoying this book right now, so I can't wait to give you guys more of an update once we get more into the middle of the plot, and once the spicy scenes start hitting. All right. So it's another day, great and beautiful day. The temperature has finally fallen. So we were in the 100 degrees the past couple of weeks. So I think that comes out to be around 38 or 37 degrees Celsius. And we're finally, I think it's around like 80 degrees right now. So I believe that is, I gotta double check because your girl is in American, so I only have freedom units. So let me quickly take a look. So right now in freedom units we are around 80 degrees, and that means it's around 26 to 27 Celsius. So we're finally cooling down a little bit. I was able to take my dog out on a longer walk so that she doesn't get a heat stroke. And during that time I was just listening to Woman of Light. I am buddy reading this with Maria Andrea, so she also has started it in the past couple of days, and we're just talking about it back and forth. Honestly, it's been a pretty good book. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think the author's voice is pretty clear. I'm particularly listening to it as an audiobook, and I'm kind of glad I did, because I think I would be too caught up in the nuances of how to appropriately pronunciate things. And I think the voice actress did a really good job narrating the story, and with all the different voices of all the different characters and the moving parts in the story. I would have to say one thing I didn't realize because I'm listening to the audiobook is that there's actually a family tree in the book itself. Maria Andrea actually has the book, whereas I'm listening to it on audio. So that is something I wish I could see. Maybe I'll ask her to take a picture of it for me so I can, you know, reference everything. But, you know, I'm taking it pretty well. But, you know, I think there's also the aspect of trying to put together and plot together your own mind map of figuring out who's related to who. Right now, we're really focusing on Lou, who is, I'm assuming, going to be the Woman of Light. And we had a snippet of like a performer who like does gunshots, so sharpshooting, and we're focusing on her for like a brief moment, and then we lapse back into the future. So I want to say it's multiple timelines happening at once, in the sense of like we get flashbacks to literally like decades before, and we're meeting these characters whom I am going to assume is some way related to Lou and the story. So we met a sharpshooter who does performances and someone who's trying to poach her for his theater, and then like suddenly we flash back into the present with Lou and everything that has happened. And also we get like themes of segregation and racism in this novel. So I'm honestly really enjoying it. I think the audiobook really gives it its own voice, especially for me who doesn't have like a close connection or close recognition with Spanish heritage. So I believe that adds a little bit more depth to the story for me personally. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad I picked it to read with Maria Andrea. It's definitely very enlightening, and you kind of get to see how history repeats itself. It is a historical fiction based on kind of the atrocities that people have faced in the 1900s and the 1800s. Like in one of the moments it literally flashes back to the 1800s. So I'm trying to keep track of like the timelines and where everything's happening. I think that is the hardest part about this book currently. And yeah, that's my little update for Woman of Light. I did make it to around page 200 for King of Sloth, be exact. Oh no, I made it to around page 150 for King of Sloth, and they had their first kiss, and Sloane's not having it. Sloane is ignoring it, pushing it on down. Ah, it's so cute. King of Sloth is definitely a completely different vibe. I'm just reading this before bed generally, or when I'm just sitting around, and then I'm listening to Woman of Light when I'm taking out my dog, when I'm cooking, and when I'm playing my video games. I just have it on the side while I'm listening to it. So yeah, that's kind of my update. I really want to go out and look at the thrift store again for the books, because I watched Lauren's latest video and she was talking about how, wow, like the Hannah Grace, whose most famous book is Icebreaker, and there's a lot of talks around it. Like people either love it or hate it. Some people feel like it's just very smut driven, and you guys know me, I don't mind smut at all. Like I love seeing how authors write these things, and sometimes it's just funny to read, because it's just like, girl, you need to calm down, because some of the graphics that you are giving anatomically does not make any sense. But also sometimes it just adds to the story and like the emotional turmoil that characters go through. And then she really likes the last book that came out, and honestly I have not picked up Icebreaker because what a lot of people say is that it's kind of mindless, but Lauren has never failed me yet on a book recommendation. So I know that I saw 1 or 2 of Hannah Grace's book at the thrift store, so I really want to go, but I'm just thinking to myself, should I really be shopping right now? And also like right next to it is a Daiso, so like if I go I'm gonna end up at Daiso. But then here's me trying to like say that it's fine, because also next to it is a Ranch 99, and that's where I do some of my grocery shopping, and I'm in need of a little bit of more groceries. So okay, that's I think I'm gonna continue reading King of Sloth for a little bit, decide if I really want to go to like the thrift store, and then if I go to the thrift store somehow I'm gonna end up at the Daiso, and if I end up at Daiso I'm gonna end up at the market, and then if I end up at the market I might end up at Barnes and Nobles. Don't ask me how that logic works, but it just does, because once I get ready for the day I try to be out and about. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I hate wearing outside clothes. I am just a potato. I am a raccoon. I am a sloth. I love my home clothes. I love being comfortable. Yeah, I'm gonna end this clip here. I don't know where I was going with that. Still trying desperately not to go to any of the stories I just talked about, but I have to do a little mini rant. I am page 181, and on page 180, hold up, and on page 187 I wrote a little sticky note of a rant over here. I started annotating my books, but I realized I don't want to actually write in them, and being a planner girly I had a lot of planner supplies including sticky notes, so I'm whipping them out for this case and writing a little rant, because tell me why. Okay, on page 167 there's this ex of Sloan that came into the picture, and he just wouldn't take no as an answer. All right, this guy's just harassing her, all this good stuff, and then Xavier was just like, you need to get going. She said no, and then immediately afterwards on page 170, so I'm talking about like 167 and then onto 171 at max, Xavier is following her and follows her into her cab because he wouldn't take no for an answer, because he was just like, hey, date me, and Sloan's just like, no, and then he just gets into her cab. Hello, you quite literally moments ago you were like, you need to take no for an answer to someone who dated her, right? And then immediately afterwards he does the same thing the other guy does. Like, I know Xavier and Sloan is supposed to be the endgame couple, but Anna Huang, can you just space it out a little bit? It was just right on top. Like, I don't know, I'm like morally gray billionaire boys don't really know what they're doing, right? And then most of the time it's just there, it's just written to the text, and it's just how like some cheesy romance is written. But man, like, she clearly knows it's a problem, she writes it as a problem, and it proceeds to let the male lead do the problem. So, you know, that moment just got me messed up, but I am continuing on, and they have their first date because yes, she eventually says yes, because there's that burning, yearning tension under them. And I feel like she could have just stretched it out, like as they get to know each other, revisit the topic. But no, just he follows her into a cab, and then she tells the cabman, hey, I don't know this man. And the cab guy just ignores her because Xavier pulled out the $100 bill. Excuse me, cabman, what is wrong with you? Anyways, that is my update for the current reading. I had to react on that part at least. And I'm gonna continue on reading this, trying not to bait myself into going, but I am pretty hungry and I'm feeling pad thai. So when my husband wakes up, maybe we will go get pad thai together. I wanted to pop up on here because I just finished making my like pre-Christmas holiday themed intro. Since I'll be out for Christmas, I'll be in SoCal and I won't have a PC, and I don't want to edit on my laptop because that laptop is pretty weak. So I did make an intro specifically for the holidays when I'm not gonna be around, and I'm pretty happy about how it turned out, so you guys can get a little bit of a preview. I don't know, I just thought it was really cute, and I took like about like an hour to make it, so it wasn't too hard. A lot of the graphics did come from a free pick, so like if you guys are ever looking for graphics, I like cannot recommend free pick enough. Like you just need to add attributions in your videos and stuff like that, but they have a lot of cute cool stuff, so I just grabbed a bunch of graphic, threw it on the screen, and called it a day. And I'm really happy about how it turned out. I'm gonna have to make an outro for this now, like a similar matching outro, and yeah, that's what I'll be doing. It is currently 2 a.m. Maybe I won't, maybe I will actually get ready for bed, but I'm just really happy I got this out the door, even though I'm supposed to be planning my September monthly wrap-up, but I got distracted. All right, I will see you guys in a bit. Today is now Wednesday. I want to get the video up on Sunday, so I'm probably gonna finish the script, everything today, and then probably film tomorrow or Friday and just pump out the editing ASAP. That's my plan, that's my goal. Hopefully it'll all work out. No more late video, hopefully. I don't even know why, but I've just been sleeping so much. Like I think it was like 12 hours the other day. Actually, it was like 12 hours and then I took a nap. Y'all, it's like the sleep deprivation is real. I'll catch you guys when I have another big update, like when I finish a book or something. I am 57% of the way through for A Woman of Light. I'm really enjoying it and I'm really liking the imagery and the floral writing. I generally don't really enjoy that, but I feel like it really adds to the historical context and the culture in this aspect. So I was just having it in the background when I was playing some video games, and right now we still don't really know how everything connects yet. We're getting a little bit more knowledge of Lou's aunt and then what's going on in Lou's life and everything with her brother Diego. We had a little bit of snippets on, I believe, maybe their grandparents. I'm not 100% sure. I did ask Maria Andrea to kind of like send me some notes on, like, I think the front page there's like an actual family tree, but when you're listening to the audiobook you don't have that, so it was a little bit of a guessing game for me in the beginning, but now I'm referencing back to the family tree that she sent me, and I do think we heard about their grandparents a little bit, or at least how they met. And yeah, I'm just gonna continue listening to the story. I'm gonna finish the September monthly wrap-up write-up and then read some more today, I guess. So I was a little bit awkward, so I did not do video. I did not talk at the thrift store, but the thrift store today was pretty good. It was actually pretty full with books, so I'm assuming a new batch of books just came in, and so I was browsing. Unfortunately, I did not see many romance books, but I saw a lot of good books, but I limited myself to 2 because I did see a lot of books I was on the fence of, such as Pachinko. So you guys all know I read Pachinko with the Elamade Book Club a couple months back, and while I really liked the concept and the literary aspect of it, I don't think I really enjoyed it, but the condition of that book was so beautiful. I kind of wanted it on my shelf to say like, hey, I do read literary books too, y'all, but I decided against it since I don't think it was a book that I necessarily enjoyed, and I'm not sure if I will go back to it. So I ended up just dropping that, leaving that there. I did see a couple of romance books that kind of intrigued me, but they weren't on my TBR, and I haven't heard about them officially from any other booktubers that I have watched, so I also did not pick those books up. However, I did pick up 2 books and I'm really excited to show y'all. I know I said I was gonna try to limit my spending and purchasing books, so I think I will soon put a stop on purchasing books, but I'm not 100% sure if I will as of yet. But let me show you the 2 books I did get. The 2 books I got were both Frederick Bachman books, okay, and they are both on my TBR, and also I had been planning to read them, so I think they were valid picks, and mainly because the quality of it was so good, I just had to pick it up. Like, this one was $2 and this one was $3. Like, why is a hard copy cheaper than a softback? I don't know, but I picked up Frederick Bachman Beartown. This for sure I had to pick up because Elamade Book Club, this is one for picks for November or October. I don't remember. I don't think I'm going to 100% join her exactly for the same month. I think we're both taking it slow, and since we have been a little bit bit burnt out from a lot of the books we've been reading. So I might join you, Ellen, for Beartown just very, very slowly. And I know this is Bonnie Nicole's favorite book as well. This in her 52352, okay, I cannot count. In her 54321 tag, she talked about how Frederick Bachman Beartown is one of her favorite. And I believe this is one of 3 books in the series. So I picked this up, perfect time. I am gonna probably read it soon to join Ellen. And then I also said that I really wanted to see what this book was about from Bonnie, and since it's one of her favorite books from Frederick Bachman herself, I picked it up. Now the next book is Anxious People, also by Frederick Bachman. So 2 Frederick Bachman books. I actually saw another Frederick Bachman book at the thrift store. I'm trying to recall it, even though I was literally just there. So I saw another book. It was A Man Called Ove, A Man Called Ove, and the condition of that book wasn't the best, and it's not on my TBR per se, but I know that Ellen from the Ellen Made Book Club has read it and she really liked it, but I think I passed on it just simply because I want to see if I enjoy Frederick Bachman first, and I feel like 2 of these books are really fair. One of them is a heavily recommended book by Bonnie Nicole, and then this one is a recommended book from Jessie, so I just thought it was perfect. I think in my 54321 tag specifically, I said I wanted to read a Frederick Bachman book and that Anxious People was going to be the book I want to get to by the end of the year, hence why I picked it up. So I know I shouldn't be spending money, but I do think the trip to the thrift store was pretty good because we got a nice little haul here, and they are books that are actually books that I am planning to read and is on my radar, so I'm excited about that, even though I could have probably gotten these at the library, but I just feel like so many people love it, and if I love the book, and I know that Frederick Bachman's books are more literary and they make you think, so if I'm gonna be writing notes on it, I want to have, oh, ow, that hurt. I just like punched my chin with the book. I'm gonna put these books down, they're dangerous. If I'm gonna be writing notes about them and talking about the books, I want to have them in physical form. So for sure, these 2 books are books that are heavily influenced by other booktubers, and I said for sure I was going to read. So now we have 2 more books to our TBR cart. I'm kind of really happy to see the TBR cart fill up because every time Jessie has her little cart, or whenever I see people pull out the TBR cart, I get so excited to see like a basket filled with books, and mine is slowly getting there. Is that technically a good thing? I don't think so, but also if it doesn't hurt, like, it's all right. There could be worse hobbies, and I'm actually kind of happy that I gotten into thrifting books because it definitely stops my impulse control buy a little bit better, and paying for books at a much cheaper price. And I think the thrift store near me is wonderful. Like, the condition of these books are immaculate, and like I said, the hardcover of Anxious People was only $2.50. I don't know how they're determining the prices for these books, but I am forever thankful for that. I will catch you guys in the next couple of clips. I'm gonna head over to Daiso because Daiso's right next door, and I just want to see if there's any arts and crafts. I finished King of Sloth. This is officially my 4th book in the King of Sin series that I have read, so I have read all of them thus far. I know that there are other books technically in the same world, so I think they are... Why am I even looking? There are more books. There's information in the back. The Twisted series, and then I think there's the If Love series that Anna Huang just came out, and I've only read the King of Sin series. Now, in terms of ranking, I think I give this book a 4. It's pretty good. It's very classical alpha male trope that Anna Huang writes, and that's what I expected going into this book. So I'm not very displeased or unhappy about it. It is what you get. It is like a billionaire boyfriend, billionaire book. So we have the alpha male, arrogant, hothead, and then we have this female lead, which is a little bit different than the previous female lead in such that she is technically self-built and she's rich by her own means. She does come from money, but she and her family are like separated, so she doesn't have a dime from them, but she built like a very successful publicity company, and from that's where her money is. But she's not like, you know, billionaire rich, she's just rich. And then of course one of her clients is the male lead, and then they start dating, all that good stuff. He is the stereotypical billionaire playboy junkie, and he has the anger issues to match up with that. I feel like this is very typical in Anna Huang's writing, so I'm not too surprised, nor am I gonna be like, oh, I wish it wasn't like that. The only part that I was really like WTF about, I'm pretty sure I've ranted quite a bit in like a previous clip, but it was when like he didn't take no for an answer almost immediately after he told someone to take no for an answer. So there was that. But I think I really like the backstory of the female lead Sloane in this book a lot more than the other books. I feel like the backstories for all 3 of the previous books weren't as good as this one. This one goes way more into depth about kind of like this conflict she has with her parents, and then how the resolution makes sense to me. Whereas I feel like with the first book and the second book, I wasn't a fan of it. The third book was King of Greed, and that was my least favorite one. And King of Greed, we didn't really dwell too much on the family dynamic aspect, even though there's clearly issues involved in it. So in terms of ranking, I think I would put this King of Pride is number 1, of course. Kai Young, my favorite. We got to see snippets of him in this book too, so I was really happy about that. And then second would be King of Sloth, then King of Wrath. But like King of Wrath and King of Sloth are like very close to each other, so very interchangeable. And then the last one would be King of Greed. Ironically, the order that I read it in was King of Greed, King of Wrath, King of Pride, and then King of Sloth. And I think King of Greed, I had like very high expectation for it, but it did not live up to the expectations, so it was like a 3-star for me for King of Greed, which is surprising. All the other Anna Huang books were 4s and 5s. So this is the current read that I just finished, and now let's pick out a read for the last like 2 days of this vlog, right? And I have a bunch of books queued up from the library in my Kindle that has already expired, but since my Kindle is on airplane mode, it technically still is here until I turn it on. And I have a lot of books, so we might use TBR cards to decide which book to read, because I really don't know. All right, so the very first one is Leather and Lark, which is the second book of the Lover trilogy, the serial killer trilogy. We have Two Wrongs Make a Right, which feels very fall-esque. I have Practice Makes Perfect and Ruthless Vows. Is that it? Oh no, I also have Fourth Wing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books that are very potential picks, right? Now let's just play with the cards. Let's see what I get. All right. Okay, is it gonna focus? Available now in the library, which is the worst one I could have gone, just because of the fact that all these books that I just told you about were from the library. So kind of a mess. All right, let's quickly shuffle this up. Okay, random one. This says most recent purchase or download. This is also actually no, it doesn't work. Okay, this is also kind of useless because they are all recently downloaded. Who would have thought? 2 out of 2 can't do it. We did a little bit more shuffling, and then pick this one. All right, historical. The next pick is historical. Are any of these historical? We have Leather and Lark. That's not historical. That's not, definitely contemporary. Two Wrongs Make a Right is contemporary. Ruthless Vow is historical. And then Practice Makes Perfect is contemporary, and Fourth Wing is technically, I don't know, I think that's more fantasy. So okay, Ruthless Vow is the second book of the duology. I believe I gave the first book, was it Divine Rivals, 5 stars. I really like that one, and I think it's more magical realism historical vibes, so I'm gonna assume that this one is going to be historical vibes. So that is going to be my pick, and I don't think I'm gonna start reading it yet. I am reading out. I think I'm gonna take a break. So I said I was gonna shower, but then I ended up not showering. I caught up and finished Marriage of Convenience, including 46 side chapters. So I actually read Marriage of Convenience like a long time ago, before I started including mangas and manhwas into my wrap-up, and I think I'm gonna include it in October's monthly wrap-up. But officially, I have finished reading the whole series. I think the side chapters just completed translation, and I can't wait until they serialize it into like a printed format. I think it is in Korean, and I might buy that whole pack. But then see, the problem is if it gets translated into English, I'm gonna want a variation of that in English as well, so I'm kind of stuck in a hard place. So right now it's being translated on tapas, and I think eventually they'll get converted into like actual printed form if there's enough hype around it, and I think there should be, because that manhwa, it's literally called Marriage of Convenience. Not only did they give us like a great, amazing, like solid, like actual story, the 46 side chapters were not just fluff, but actual consequences and actual things that happened after the main story. So we get to see the future after all the stuff that they've done impacted the future, and we get to see that, and I love it. Like I love the series so much. Probably one of my favorite manhwas of all time, hands down, and I can't believe that it's officially completed. Now I'm gonna check out, actually take a shower, wash my hair, and then get ready for bed. Good morning, everyone. So today is the final day, and this is the final update of my reading vlog. I just finished Woman of Light, so I figured this is the perfect time to just wrap up and close off the reading vlog, the birthday reading vlog. My birthday feels like literally so long ago already, even though it's only been a week officially. But yeah, I finished Woman of Light and I gave it 3.5 stars. This is it's more closer to a 4, but then I'm trying to keep my rating scales like not be like 3.86 or like something like that, because I used to do that a lot actually. But I personally felt like the story was so moving. The writing style is so beautiful. The way the writing flows and the imageries and descriptions she gave was perfect. I felt like I could really see and envision the 1900s, the early 1900s of Denver, and the late 1800s of the Lost Territories, and all the characters themselves. Like, they felt very distinct in my mind, and it's just from the way that the author wrote. And honestly, you get to see a lot of like really hard themes. We have themes of like race, identity, culture, and then also like the struggles that women go through in the early 1900s, like the unequal pay and the sexual harassment, right? And I think she addressed and talked about all those things very beautifully. And I would have to say, like, even I was ignorant about how much the KKK had their hands in everything in the 1900s. Like, their attacks were targeted basically with anybody who just didn't fit the way they look and the model identity that they have created to be the superior identity, and it's absolutely disgusting. You get to see like the horrors of things that has happened, especially to like a major character in the story as well. So I really felt like the story was written so beautifully, and you get a lot of information about a lot of hard themes and situations that has happened in history and what like the foundation of the United States is built on, which is disgusting. And I really enjoyed the story in that aspect. But storytelling wise and plot wise, it just had so many disconnecting moments that I really struggled to grasp the plot. I think the story does a really good job of pointing out these injustices and having specific scenarios and scenes for these instances, but I don't see a flowing plot. We have the instances. Ducky, stop. we're basically following like a multi-generational family, and we get to see like the great-grandparents, the grandparents, the parents, and the children themselves. And I think there was a lot of disconnect there because we're just jumping back and forth in the timeline because we're focusing on multiple generations. While we do pinpoint and focus like on Lou specifically, who seems to be the primary narrator and the woman of light in this case, we didn't get to see as much as I wanted, right? And also because we just see glimpses, what the storytelling goes is that we're like in one timeline and then we go back and then we go back and forth between multiple timelines and scenes, and I just feel like it didn't really flow together appropriately. It's the writing is beautiful. I don't hate it at all. I just felt like I'm getting a whiplash, specifically since I'm listening to the audiobook, and I didn't see why we would go from Denver in 1920s to Colorado in the late 1800s. So that's where the disconnect was for me. And then the ending, we have a lot of things built up, and then the ending just didn't click, or it just didn't make sense to me. And maybe Maria Andrea can talk a little bit more, and maybe she'll have more an opinion on how she sees it. But for me, the plot wise, I just felt like there's a lot of disconnect in the storytelling. I thought that the writing was beautiful, I thought the messages were strong, and the representation of the cases that has happened in history were done very beautifully. I just didn't think the storyline that accompanied it really flowed together well. I just felt like the ending was missing. Kind of, we got this big buildup of a lot of things that were happening, and then it just ends. And that's where my confusion is. I do believe if you want to do like a multi-generational story, and this is kind of like for me remembering about Pachinko, which does a very similar aspect, I think we needed a longer story. I believe this book is only about 300 to 400 pages, whereas Pachinko is closer to 600. And I think that's where the reasoning why I didn't feel like the plot really flowed is probably because of that. I wish she spent a little bit more time adding more to connect all the points. But overall, I think it was still a pretty enjoyable read. I definitely recommend listening to the audiobook. I feel like you could really tell the difference between all the characters, and it just makes the storyline so much more vivid and moving. So it has been a pretty good reading week. Let's go down the list, shall we? Let me try to recall everything that I read this week so far. It might actually be hard because I have a memory of a goldfish, but we'll try. And then the next book that I finished is King of Sloth. I gave it 4 stars. It is a very typical billionaire boyfriend romance. So if you're not into that, you're not gonna like it. It is very alpha male anger issue kind of thing, but it is kind of like a nice, fun, mindless read. I enjoy that, and I like just not having to think sometimes. And I think Chris said it was a little shady to say that, but I do not care. I am willing to admit that sometimes I don't want to use my brain too much. Another audiobook that I finished during this week was Better Than the Movies, and I gave it 4 stars. It was overall a fun read, and the character is very, very juvenile, and it is set in high school, so I think that is the point. I think the author did a great job depicting that and kind of like explaining why she is kind of like this juvenile, has this concept of romance and rom-coms like the movie, and it's just her way of dealing with being able to still keep that connection to her mom who has passed away. So I think once everything about that clicks, I really started to enjoy the book a lot more. Definitely the first half of the book is hard to get into because we don't get to see that character death until you continuously progress into the story. So still, I think it was a solid read. Thank you, Jada, for recommending me this. I don't think I would have ever picked up another Lynn Painter book unless she has like recommended this to me like this. Then we have another book from Ali Hazelwood, a really surprising release, which is Two Can Play, and I gave it 3.5 stars. It's a pretty average read, and it's a novella, so you don't really get to connect with the characters as in depth like the other stories. And also, I think this was only available as an audiobook, and I think that made it less enticing. I feel like with more mindless books, I like to actually read the words on the text, because then I don't know, I feel more of a connection to the character characters when I read it with a book than it is with audiobooks. I don't know, it's hard to say because I do also really like listening to audiobooks, but the audiobook was just kind of made me feel a lot more disconnected with the story, and I think this is one of the lower rated books in her collection that I have read, and it really reads like fan fiction. It's not bad. Like, I love fan fiction. I think this month I started adding a column for fan fiction because I recently got back into reading some of them. So I love fan fiction, but the whole point of fan fiction is the fact that you are already invested in the couple and you are already invested into the world. So you don't need as much world building or character building, and that's why fan fiction works. If I recall correctly, when I was like looking up this book, it was a Raylo fan fiction that she converted into a book, which is probably why it feels like the characters are really lacking in my opinion. But still, overall, it's just a fun, nice, easy read. It's a little bit spicy, but not as spicy as Bride or Not in Love. I think this is more on par with Love theoretically. And then last but not least is Marriage of Convenience. This is a manhwa that got me back into reading also, and I gave it 5 stars. They are finally completed, like officially completed. All the chapters are out, all the side stories are out, so I decided to include this as part of the vlog, even though I've been reading it since I want to say November of 2023, and it was such a good manhwa. I really felt like the story was riveting, and I felt like the ending with the side stories, usually they're misses. Like a lot of authors just show us like fluff at the end, and sometimes it's a little bit weird. I really felt like the author added a lot more like content to the side stories that made it so much more surprising. But I think that is it. That wraps up the whole reading vlog. I hope you guys had a great time following me reading all these books. I did make this reading vlog a little bit different than usual. I think I haven't actually gotten around to editing it, so who knows, maybe it'll just be identical to all the other reading vlogs. But with that, I think I am done. If you guys enjoy bookish content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys hopefully next week for another video. Bye!